Have you ever signed a paper, nodded along in a meeting, or said, "Okay, if you think that's best," to one of your children, and then gone back to your quiet room and thought, "When did my life stop being mine?" Maybe it didn't happen all at once. At first, it was small, practical things. Your son offered to take over paying the bills online because the passwords were confusing. Your daughter started going into the doctor's office with you to help you remember what they say. A grandchild helped set up your online banking. You were grateful. It felt like support, not control. But slowly, the language changed. We've decided you shouldn't drive anymore. We think you should sell the house. We changed the account so it's easier for us to manage. We told the doctor, you'll go ahead with that procedure. And somewhere in there, without a big scene or a clear moment, the center of gravity shifted. Decisions about your money, your health, your home, even your daily schedule started happening around you instead of with you. You may even have helped it along. You might have said, "When I'm 70, I want you kids to take over everything. I don't want to worry about it." You might have been tired, overwhelmed, or scared of making a mistake. You trusted them. You still do. But now you're living in the reality of what letting them take control actually means. And some days, it doesn't feel like relief. It feels like disappearing just a little bit at a time. You might hear yourself saying things like, "I don't understand any of that. Ask my daughter," when someone asks about your bank. Or, "My son has my car keys. You'd have to talk to him." Or, "I'll have to see what they say when someone invites you to do something that used to be your choice." Some of that is practical, but some of it starts to sting, especially when you realize you've stopped being the main voice in your own life. If you're over 70, you might already be wrestling with questions like, did I hand over too much too quickly? Are my children helping me or quietly running my life? Is it ungrateful or disrespectful to want some of that control back? What should I have set up differently before signing documents and putting their names on everything? You are not alone in those questions. Many older parents find themselves in a strange place, grateful for their children's help, and at the same time, grieving the loss of say-so over their own money, health, and home. In some families, children are careful, respectful, and transparent, and even then, there can be hurt feelings and misunderstandings. In other families, sadly, children may be careless, controlling, or even take advantage, telling themselves it's for their own good, while cutting the parent out of their own decisions. This video is not here to turn you against your children. Most adult sons and daughters are doing the best they can with little guidance, trying to juggle their own lives while worrying about you. But it is here to give words to something many older people feel but rarely say out loud. I wish I had understood more before I signed things over. I wish I had known how this would feel. I wish I had set some boundaries and agreements before giving my children so much control after 70. Never poured 9. We're going to talk gently and honestly about 5 things many older parents wish they had known before handing over control of their finances, medical decisions, and everyday life to their children. Things like that helping with the bills can turn into total financial dependence if you're not careful about how it's set up. That inviting a child into your medical appointments without clear rules can slowly push your own voice out of the room. That putting a child's name on your accounts or house, just in case, can have consequences you never meant. That saying yes to every request to take over can accidentally train everyone, including you, to believe you're helpless when you're not. And that you're allowed to want both support and respect, help and dignity. We'll look at the emotional side, guilt, fear of being a burden, wanting to be the easy parent, and the practical side, paperwork, powers of attorney, who has access to what, and what should have been talked through before signatures were given. We'll also talk about what you can do now if you feel like things have gone too far, and how to start calmer conversations about shifting from "they control everything" to "we decide together." By the end of this video, you won't have a perfect family or a perfect plan, but you will have a clearer picture of the most common regrets older parents have after giving their children control, and how those regrets could have been softened or avoided by doing a few things differently. And even more important, you'll hear some ideas for how to gently change course now, without turning every conversation into a war. And stay with me until the very end, because the third thing I'll share is one that almost no one talks about openly: how letting your children speak for you all the time can slowly convince everyone, doctors, banks, even you, that you're no longer capable, long before that's actually true. Understanding that one might change how you handle the very next appointment or document that comes your way. Now, let us get started. Number 1. Helping with the bills is very different from silently handing over your entire financial life. Many parents over 70 start with a simple, loving idea. The online stuff is confusing. I'll let my son or daughter help. Maybe you give them your login, let them set up automatic payments, or add them as an authorized user so they can keep track. That can be a blessing. But what many older adults wish they had understood is how quickly helping can turn into, I have no idea what's going on with my own money anymore. When every statement goes to your child's email, when only they know the passwords, when only their name is talking to the bank or utility companies, you can end up feeling like a guest in your own finances. If something doesn't look right, you're not sure how to check. If you want to change a payment or help another family member, you have to ask permission. In the worst situations, a child under stress can start using your accounts in ways you never intended, and you won't see the warning signs because you no longer see the information. What many older parents say later is, I wish I had stayed involved enough to understand the basics. I wish we had set it up so they could help, but I still saw the statements, still knew what bills I had, still had a clear picture of what was happening. You do not need to manage every detail, but you do need to avoid disappearing from your own financial life. That means simple things like insisting that you still receive paper or email copies of statements, keeping a list that you understand of your accounts and automatic payments, and having regular, calm check-ins where your child explains what they're doing with your money in plain language you can repeat back. Number 2, putting a child's name on everything has consequences you may not see until it's too late. It is very common to hear advice like, just add your daughter to your bank account, or put your son on the house deed so it's easier when you die. It sounds loving and practical, but many parents discover later that these decisions changed more than they realized. When you make a child a joint owner instead of simply an emergency helper, that child may now legally own part of your money or your home right now, not just after you're gone. That can affect your ability to control or sell things. It can affect how things are divided among siblings later, and it can expose your assets to your child's debts, divorces, or legal problems. Some older adults thought they were making it easier, and only learned later that other children felt cut out, that certain promised inheritances couldn't happen, or that a child used their joint ownership to push through decisions the parent wasn't truly ready to make. Many say, I wish I had understood the difference between making someone a helper, like a power of attorney, and making them a co-owner. I wish I had talked with a neutral professional before putting anyone's name on my house or main accounts. You are allowed to get legal and financial advice that is about protecting you first, not about making things convenient for your children. Tools like powers of attorney, beneficiary designations, and pay-on-death instructions can often give children the ability to help and inherit without giving them full ownership and control while you're still alive. The key regret many parents have is not asking, what happens to my control and to my other children if I do this, before signing. If you are still listening, comment the number 2 below so we know you are here. And if these calm, practical, senior wisdom conversations help you feel less alone in this stage of life, consider subscribing so we can keep creating videos that respect both your age and your dignity. Now, let us move forward. Number 3, letting your children speak for you in every appointment can quietly erase your voice before it truly needs to be. At first, it feels helpful. Your daughter comes into the doctor's office because the medical terms are confusing. Your son answers the electrician's questions because he knows about this stuff. Pretty soon, professionals stop looking at you when they talk. They look at your child. They ask your child what you want. Your child answers. You nod because you don't want to cause trouble, and a little part of you shrinks each time. Many older parents don't realize how quickly this pattern teaches everyone that you are no longer the main decision maker. Doctors, banks, social workers, even other relatives may start to bypass you, assuming the kids are in charge now. In some cases, this happens years before your mind is truly impaired. You can still think, you can still decide, but the habit in the room has become ask the child. That is deeply painful, and it can affect the quality of care and respect you receive. What many elders wish they had done differently is set gentle rules from the start. I want my daughter in the room, but please ask me first and let me answer in my own words. She's here to help fill in details, not to speak instead of me. Or, I may need help remembering certain things, but I still want to be the one who says yes or no to treatment. You can sign forms that allow your children access to information without handing them the microphone completely. You are allowed to say to your child afterward, when we're at the doctor or bank, please give me time to answer first. If I get confused, then you can step in. Number 4. Saying yes to everything to be the easy parent can train everyone to believe you are helpless when you are not. Many parents over 70 do not want to be seen as difficult. You may already feel guilty that your children are busy, that they are helping with rides, chores, or paperwork. So when they say, we'll just handle that, you say yes. When they suggest changes you aren't sure about, you say yes. When they move from, can we help, to, we've decided, you stay quiet. You tell yourself you're being cooperative, appreciative, good. Over time, though, something subtle happens. Your children stop expecting you to have an opinion. You stop being asked. Every problem goes straight to them, whether you could handle it or not, and you start to believe your own script. I can't do this. That loss of confidence can make you smaller in your own life than your abilities require. Many older adults in their 70 seconds and 80 seconds quietly say, I wish I had pushed back a little more. I wish I had said, let me try first, and if I can't, then I'll ask you. I wish I hadn't trained everyone to think I'm incapable just to keep the peace. You are allowed to accept help with the parts that truly overwhelm you, while still insisting on handling what you can. You might say, I can still speak to my own doctor, but I'd like you there to take notes. Or, I can sign my own checks, but I'd like your help checking for scams. That middle ground, help plus respect, is harder to demand later if you've spent years acting like you cannot do anything at all. Number 5. You can and should set clear agreements and keep a say, even after you've given some control. One of the biggest regrets older parents have is not having specific conversations before handing over control. Who will manage money, and how will they report back to you? Who will go to appointments, and when do you want private time with the doctor? What decisions can your children make on their own in an emergency, and what decisions should always involve you unless you are clearly unable? How will you handle disagreements between siblings? And how can a neutral professional, an attorney, a financial planner, a counselor help when emotions are high? Many older adults wish they had written down simple guidelines. I want to stay in my home as long as it's safe. Here is what safe means to me. Or, I want to be consulted on any big financial moves, even if my child is on the account. They wish they had said to their children, if we ever feel like I'm being pushed or ignored, I want us to agree now that we'll sit down with someone outside the family to talk it through. Most importantly, they wish they had known this. Giving someone power of attorney or adding them to an account is not a one-way door. As long as you are mentally capable, you can change your mind, update documents, spread responsibilities among more than one child, or bring in professionals to share the load. You are not trapped. You may need help to make changes, but the law and good professionals recognize that your voice matters as long as you are able to use it. When you put these 5 together, knowing the difference between help and total takeover, understanding the consequences of joint ownership, protecting your voice in appointments, avoiding the trap of "I'm helpless" just to keep peace, and setting clear agreements with room to adjust, you can see why so many people over 70 say, "I wish I had known these things before giving my children control." The good news is that even if some lines have already been crossed, it is not too late to start drawing clearer ones now, calmly, firmly, and with love for yourself and for your family. Final thoughts. We have just walked through 5 hard but important truths many people over 70 only discover after handing too much control to their children. How helping with the bills can quietly turn into total financial dependence if you are not careful. How putting a child's name on your accounts or house can change ownership and expectations in ways you did not intend. How letting your children speak for you in every appointment can slowly erase your voice before your mind is truly gone. How saying yes to everything to be the easy parent can accidentally teach everyone that you are helpless when you are not. And how much regret could have been prevented by setting clear agreements and boundaries from the beginning and remembering that you can still adjust those agreements while you are mentally capable. None of this is about turning you against your children. Most adult sons and daughters are not villains. They are busy, worried, tired people who love you and are trying to protect you in a world that feels complicated and scary. They step in because they do not want you to be scammed, hurt, or overwhelmed. But love and good intentions do not erase the reality that you are the one living in your skin, sleeping in your home, and feeling what it is like when your own life slips out of your hands. If you felt a knot in your stomach listening to this, maybe you thought, "That's me, I don't see my statements anymore." Or, "My daughter answers all my medical questions while the doctor barely looks at me." Or, "I said yes to putting my son on everything, and now I'm not sure what I still own." Take a slow breath. Recognizing yourself in this is not betrayal. It does not mean you suddenly mistrust your children. It simply means you are waking up to the fact that you still matter in this story. Your preferences, your comfort, your sense of dignity and safety, those are not childish or selfish. They are the heart of what all this help was supposed to protect. You might be tempted to swing to the other extreme, to think, "I should never have let them help at all," or "It's too late now, I've given everything away." But real wisdom usually sits in the middle. Complete independence at 80 is rarely realistic. Complete surrender at 70 is rarely necessary. The goal is not to yank control out of your children's hands in anger. The goal is to move toward partnership instead of quiet surrender, toward a life where they help, but you still have a say. A simple place to start is with clarity. Take a notebook and, as best you can, write down what is true right now. Who has access to your bank accounts? Whose names are on your house or other property? Who has your powers of attorney or healthcare documents? Who usually talks in your appointments? Then, in a different color or on a different page, write how you want it to feel. I want to understand my bills at a basic level. I want the doctor to talk to me first. I want my children to help, but not decide everything without me. I want more than one child involved, so the burden and power are shared. Seeing the gap between how things are and how I want them to be on paper can turn vague unease into a clearer plan. The next step is a conversation, not a confrontation. You might say something like, "I'm grateful for all the ways you help me. I've also realized that I've stepped back a bit too far, and it doesn't feel good inside. I still want to be part of my own decisions. Can we talk about how to keep you involved but also bring my voice back into the middle?" Or, "I didn't fully understand what it meant when we put your name on these accounts and documents. I'd like us to sit down with a neutral person, a lawyer or financial counselor, and make sure things are set up in a way that protects me and you and keeps things fair for everyone." Some children will be relieved. They may have felt uncomfortable holding so much power. Others may be surprised or even defensive at first. especially if they are overburdened, scared of losing control, or worried you will be unsafe. That is why it helps to frame this, not as an accusation but as a course correction. I'm not saying you did anything wrong. I'm saying I gave away more than feels right for me, and I'd like us to fix that together. If the conversations get too tangled, asking a third person, a doctor, social worker, elder law attorney, faith leader, or counselor to help mediate can make a world of difference. Remember, as long as your mind is capable, the law and the ethical professionals around you are supposed to recognize you as the primary decision maker. Powers of attorney, joint accounts, and signed forms are meant to help you, not erase you. If you feel pressured, silenced, or unsure, you are allowed to ask for a private moment with your doctor, to call a legal aid office or elder support line, or to speak to someone outside the family. That is not betrayal. It is self-protection. If anything, it can prevent future family explosions by dealing with problems early instead of letting resentment and confusion build in silence. Ask yourself one gentle question as we close. If I live another 10 or 20 years, how do I want these years to feel like a child being managed, or like an elder being helped? The difference is not just in what your children do, it is in what you are willing to ask for. Help with respect, support with explanation, protection with participation. You may not be able to control everything about aging, but you can still insist, kindly and firmly, that your life is not run around you or over you, but with you. In the comments below, if you feel comfortable, share one thing you wish you had known before giving your children more control, or one small change you would like to make now, whether it's seeing your own statements again, speaking first at the doctor, or sitting down together to review who's on what accounts. Your honesty may help another older parent realize they are not the only one feeling this way, and that it is not too late to adjust. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend, sibling, or adult child who is walking through this same season of life from either side. Your support helps us keep creating calm, practical senior wisdom so older adults and their families can navigate control, care, and respect with more light and fewer regrets. Thank you for watching. You have spent a lifetime making decisions, caring for others, and building a life. Needing help now does not erase your right to be heard. Your voice still belongs at the center of your own story.